What is up, everybody? Sysadmin Sean here, and we are on day 7 of the Linux Upskill Challenge. Now, again, as I've said multiple times before, this is my take on following that wonderful guide that has been maintained by a great group of people, mostly one in particular. But there's a Discord, there's a subreddit, there's a forum. They have a ton of different ways for you to interact with this class. And it is 21 days of classes to get you more comfortable in Linux command line and a little bit more knowledgeable about how Linux works and things like that. I'm doing this video series as kind of a primer to show what goes down in each day, as well as how to adjust based on the distro you're using. So in case you're using something other than Ubuntu, which is what the class is sort of focused in, you can kind of follow along. So if you're using Ubuntu or Debian based, you'll be good versus a Fedora based. So let's get started. I should have done day 7 together with 5 and 6, but I didn't. So we're just going to go through that. So day 7 is basically about installing HTTPD or Apache web server and kind of learning where the file structure is and how to start and enable or stop a service. Real simple stuff. So the first step is to install Apache 2. So if you're on Ubuntu, you just do sudo apt install Apache 2. And we'll put that in. And it'll say, hey, it's going to install this stuff. You hit yes. Grum, 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 grum. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. And there we go. Now, you'll notice if I do sudo dnf install Apache 2, that's not going to work on here. Now, what will work on here is sudo dnf install httpd. And we'll hit yes, and it'll install essentially the same packages. They're going to be laid out a little bit differently, but let's go ahead and do this. So systemctl start. It's probably it says it's Apache 2 instant. Systemctl start Apache 2. Oh, I didn't type sudo, so it asked me for my authentication, and we should be up. And then let's go ahead and start it over here. Sudo systemctl start httpd. And it uses the adds the dot service. So those are both running. So let me pull up my, first let's get our IP. Again, these are local, so not sweating it. We can surely see if we do netstat-tulpn that we learned earlier, that port 80 is available and it's on IPv6. So, but we should still be able to hit it there. Yep. And if we do, and there we go. So let me put this up on the screen for y'all so you can see. Let's go to, we really don't need my camera on, so we can ignore that. So here is the Ubuntu Apache 2 install and its default page, and there's some information that you can read. And then here is the HTTPD Apache web server that is powered by Rocky Linux, as you can see, different pages and things of that nature. Let's go back to our terminal. So you noticed that after I installed the software, because this is a piece of software that you don't run yourself, we had to start a service, and we used systemctl. Now, if I reboot these machines right now, that web server will not automatically start on next boot. So we need to do, we need to enable that service. So to do that, you type sudo systemctl enable Apache 2. And that's going to build a little script that will enable it. And that's the same over here. Sudo systemctl enable httpd .service. And there we go. So what is this actually doing? Well, let's look at this file. We learned how to do this earlier. Let's cat this file. So this is starting here, a service file. It's explaining what the service is, how it's built. Unit, the Apache HTTP server, wants httpd.init.service. After network is up, remote file system, NSS lookup, and HTTPD init. So these are all required to be on and running before this will properly start. And that's obviously because if you don't have networking, why start the web server? You may need file systems, so better make sure that that's running. And then type notify language. And then this is really all it's doing. It's running user spin HTTPD with options, and it is moving it to the background. So it's running as a process. And this is the reload command. So if we needed to type sudo systemctl restart httpd.service, that will gracefully restart the service. As you can see, no problem. Same over here, systemctl restart Apache 2. And it'll do it. Now we can also go ahead and look for, now see, Ubuntu doesn't give me the direct information on where this file is. Let's finish this one up real quick and we'll try to find it. So here's how it kills it. Here's how it does the kill mode. Basically all this, install wanted by multi-user target. All that little text file does is tells the system how to start the software. In the past, people have built bash scripts that do pretty much this piece, but this is a focused way to do systemctl packages, which is what you should strive to do. So let's see if we can find the one in Ubuntu. So we know it's userlib systemd. So we should probably have something close to that over here. Let's see if it throws an error. Oh, it didn't. So we do have that. Let's see if there is an Apache 2.service, which I believe there will be. Let's practice using our tab complete. And then there it is. So pretty much the same thing, a smaller version really. There's not a lot of comment files or anything. So just saying Apache HTTP server, after network, remote FS, and SS lookup. You notice there's something that's not here that was in the Rocky version. Not really sure why, but that is there. So it's a forking service for this one. Apache started by systemd true, and here's the exec start. Notice it's Apache CTL start and Apache CTL graceful stop as opposed to HTTPD and then options. That's just because it's a different version of the software, but they're basically the same thing. And then here's the reload, calling that graceful, and then this is graceful stop. Kill mode miss, blah, 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 wanted by multi-user target. So as you can see, mostly the same thing. It's really just how you call the command to start it based on your distro. It's something to be aware of. Same with the config files. So if we go to etc Apache 2, that's where our configuration files are there. If we're on Rocky Linux, RHEL, anything like that, it's going to be an etc httpd and then conf. As you can see, there's our httpd.conf file. Over here, it's called apache2.conf. They do conf available and conf enable and sites available, sites enabled. They also have that in here, but I believe it's under conf.d. Oh, it's different. But as you can see, it's pretty much the exact same software by Apache, but it's sort of built differently. So if you go into sites enabled, you're going to see a file, the 000 default.conf file. We'll cat that real quick. We use our tab complete. So this is just a basic config file to run a web server. And it dumps stuff into the error log here, the access log here, and the document root is var www HTML. So let's go over there. Var www, and we'll hit tab HTML. And there's our file. If we do cat index, we're going to get a bunch of info, and it's going to be that Ubuntu page in HTTP code, HTML. And I don't think there's any like CSS or anything. No. Looks like it's basic plain HTML. And we'll have the same thing over here. And that is in the same location, but we don't have that here. It is using a, so if we go to, let's see, httpd conf.d, I believe none of these are, well, it's probably welcome. Let's cat the welcome file. No index, user share httpd no index. So it's using user share httpd to hold the files as opposed to var www.html. But var www.html does exist in case there's perhaps legacy or someone that knows how to configure it one way and not the other. You can finagle stuff and say, well, my files are here, use this one. Pretty simple stuff. And that's about it for how to get around and kind of look at stuff. And of course, you can also look at logs. So if we go to cd, actually, we'll need to jump because I'm lazy here. Cd var log Apache 2. There's going to be an access log and an error log. So let's cat that access log. It's going to show that we poked the website. You know, do we have any errors? We've got some errors. It's just because there's just not a lot of proper configuration. Nothing to be important of. It's mostly notices. And that's it. But the real big focus here is learning systemctl. So if you do systemctl, you can hit tab here, and it's going to give you a whole lot of different commands you can run. Most of the time, you're going to use start, stop, restart, enable, and disable. Now, before systemctl was a thing, there was service. I grew up on service. The problem is service goes backwards. So you would do service Apache 2 restart. And that still works, but it's not what you're supposed to use anymore. You're supposed to use systemctl. Restart. Come on, Apache 2. And it's going to grab the service. And there we go. And that's it. Now, there is homework on here. They did mention, and I'll read it off to you guys real quick. Let's see. Instructions. Use less or vim to view the code of the default page. We didn't use less or vim. We just did a cat. You can do that. You can edit it. And then you can make some modifications to your own little web server. And then I think they put in here to post. Yeah. Practice your text editing skills and allow your classmates to judge your progress by editing var www.html index.html with vim and post the URL to access it to the forum. Again, it has to be publicly available. Mine is not, so I won't be posting it to the forum. But if you've got one through, you know, a certain vendors that allow external access, then by all means do so. Use the forum, follow the website, follow the guide, use these as they come up during the classes. And this is going to lead into, I'm kind of surprised that it doesn't come up until later. Where is that day? Day 9. So it's going to come a day after this one is firewall rules. You should always set firewall rules whenever you have anything public facing. And they're probably set by default for a lot of things. And then hosting, this one is probably set up. But we'll go over it there in that day. But that's it for day 7. Thanks. And we'll see you in day 8.